welcome back to McCarthy Performance. Today we'll be working on the Hemi. I'm going to be putting the pistons in the engine, and checking the clearance on the rods again. I mentioned in this video that I believe that the rings that I used were, I think I said 350 holes, which I looked up the bore size Hastings. It's a 3800. I added 20, so it's a 20 oversize on the bore. Excuse me, because I had to knurl these pistons and open them up. So the bores are a little bit bigger, and I didn't want to have a 50 thousandths end gap for a ring. I know that ain't going to solve all the problems, but it came out really well. The gap is pretty much where I'd expect to see it. And, you know, being that this is going to be, he's going to put a supercharger on it, I'm sure that the pistons will go away long before the rings will ever butt. But that's another story for another day. But so the end gap looked good on these. This is the rings that I used. And like I said, I think I said Oldsmobile, I'm not sure. But this 3800 bore size is popular for Jeep. It's popular for Ford. It's popular for, I believe, Oldsmobile and Buick. So I just wanted to mention that. And the part number on this is 696. 20 overs is what I used. You know, if you wanted a file fit them and you had a standard bore Hemi, which is a real rarity, but if you had one of them, you could file fit these. So we'll get on with the video, and thanks for watching. Well, I had it in the jet wash for about damn near an hour yesterday. I brushed it before all the galleys, before I put it in, and during it was in, and used some foaming gunk on it. Then I put about a quart of mineral spirits through it with the Sure Shot. And cleaned it a little bit more, and then I just got done putting about 2 quarts of lacquer thinner through the Sure Shot and blasted it all again. And boy, I hope it's clean. Because I really wish I would have hot tanked this. But I'm sure it's clean enough that it'll be all right. But man, what a dirty old dog this thing was. So we're getting ready to set the crank. We'll put all the bearings in. I got the bearings all washed. And crank's been jet washed again and brushed through again. So she's probably as clean as I'm going to be able to make it. One of these days, maybe I'll buy a Sonic washer, parts washer, a big one. The jet washer works okay, but it don't get into all the nooks and crannies. You got to go in there and get them yourself. So, well, I'll get the crank in it and get you back to it when I get ready to set it. Not much going on here. Just putting the bearings in, making sure that they're good and clean. Try to keep them in the order that they were in when I measured them, just in case. Usually there's not much variance. Sometimes you can juggle a position and once in a while get it to come in your favor. Well, I'll wipe them out one more time and Okay, we're getting ready to put the cam in. With this particular style cam, you always want to make sure that these holes are clear. This hole right here, you want to make sure that one's clean and free. There's a hole that goes through the center of the cam and out here keeps it from airlocking. Now we're going to drop her in now. Got high pressure lube on the lobes. This is a conventional cam. There, she's in. I usually put it in first before I put the crank in. Well, bearings are all lubed up. We're going to set the crank in. Okay, now this gasket kit came with a neoprene or a Victron, I guess, rear main seal, so it's not a rope seal, which is nice, but it also can be a problem with some of these older cranks because this one had some pretty good pits in it, and where the seal is riding, it clears a good amount of them. Usually when you get a seal surface that's really bad, you would grind this, weld it, and then finish it off to the size that it was. There was some pits in here and I didn't do it that way. I dug them out with a pick and I used some Splash Zone and I smeared that on there, which is epoxy, 2-part epoxy, and then I sanded it down with the with the belt sander, crankshaft polisher, but basically I sanded it down, and I didn't want to get sanding too much, but at least there is some little areas here and there, but maybe it will help with the amount of oil that gets slung up there. So we're not going to turn the crank. I'm going to let this seal set. I put a little RTV on the back of these seals. I kind of do that by habit, and I lube the outside of the seal area. So I'm going to put the rest of the bearings in. Of course, we've checked the sizes for everything, so pretty much after the seal sets up in the back, we'll put the pistons in it. Way, now tip this way. So I sanded about 1.5 thousandths off of the side of the thrust. So we got plenty. We're good. About 5,000, that should be fine for this engine. Had the wedge on the other counterweight, so that's why I couldn't get it through that side. But anyways, I checked this side, and I took the cap off and I polished it a little bit lightly. I've checked it, it's all good. So okay, I've blended back my washer just a little bit. I'm not going to take any more off of this washer. If something hits, we're going to address each part that hits separately. At this point, the washer's hitting, and I don't think it's going to hit anymore, but if it hits further down, I will probably soften up the edges on that hotheads conversion bushing there, and we'll go from there. We'll take one problem at a time. And this isn't much of a problem. This is just normal making stuff fit, which I'd hate to say old pro at it, unfortunately. Going to be a little bit of wind up when I torque it up, so I'm going to clock it a little bit in the middle of where I relieve that washer. So yeah, it is going to probably hit again. I don't want nothing there. think what we're going to do is we're just going to dust the side that's been slotted out just a little bit more. It does go clear, my washer, it clears everything, but I don't want it to bind. So I'll trim it just a little bit more. Once it gets down to here, it's rubbing right there, so I'm going to trim that back. I'm going to radius this a little bit. Got this spacer bushing. I've gone in there and I've dusted it back a little bit. I tried to roll it. I've deburred all the edges. So I want it just to drop right in without me pushing on it. It fits right in there. So I'm going to put this back on the oil pump. I'm going to make sure we don't bottom out here, and if we do, I'll be trimming this back on the lathe. So we'll put her back on the pump. Of course, I'll be taking this pump completely apart and washing it. So we got a little bit of room. We can definitely go down still, and I'm pulling it back up, so we're good. Pump now fits. Yippee! Next, yep, everything looks good. Make sure they say for it to clear the rods. Of course, you know, that's a given. You want to make sure that it clears the rods, but I don't think we'll have a problem, and if we do, we'll just trim it a little bit here. But that wasn't too big of a deal. I'll torque this adapter plate onto the cap. And when time comes, we'll have the oil pump ready to go. Like I said, I always take these apart and wash them. Hothead supplies, they appear to be modified flathead Allens. I checked the engagement. I didn't like it. With the plate that they had and everything, I wanted to make sure that I was actually applying pressure to the plate and not bottoming out into the main cap. So what I've got is I've cut them down. And I know that they're going to be just fine now, but if you're putting this on a Hemi, and they don't know how far they went down with the threads from the factory, you know, all this stuff is going to have to be tuned in a little bit. Don't assume you buy anything from anybody that everything's just going to fit perfect. If you do that, you're a fool. Sorry about that, but that's just kind of the truth, you know. You can't blame anybody but you when you have a problem with it later because it didn't work right. You got to check everything. I stoned this flat. Of course, you want to make sure that the casting isn't above the machine surface. And that goes along with the plate that they have. You want to make sure when this goes on there that you're not going to have a problem with it. That's the way it goes. So, you know, because that does come over a little bit, you want to make sure that that's going to fit flat. I stoned everything, and I'm going to put it on like that. I'll probably put a little bit of aviation between it and a little Loctite on the Okay, the ring gaps look pretty good. I used a little bit bigger diameter ring for this. I think it ended up being like a Olds 350 or something. I don't know what it was. I'd have to look the number up. It was a small V8. Happened to have the same, pretty close to the same ring diameter, everything. I think it was in a 20 over. So I'm getting like 25 on the top, about that on the second, which is fine. Okay, we got the bearing torqued into the rod. We're going to check it one final time. We're going to go through all of them, check every single one. My housing boards are right on the money. I'm just checking, make sure that there's no, well, quality control on the bearings, let's say. So let's see where we're at. That's the wrong dial bore gauge. That's the second time I grabbed that today. That's for the cylinder walls. Okay, here we go. A little under 2.5. That's fine. I did it with the camera. I'm sorry, it's moving around. But anyways, so I'm going to start putting them in, and then I'll get back to you a little later on. But that's pretty much them all. We've checked them all for twist and the rods, of course. And we're just going through, have the rings, check the ring gaps on all of them, make sure that the quality control on the rings is good. Now we're just verifying that every single bearing is going to be good with them housing bores. My housing bores are probably within a tenth or two, so we're just going through everything, and this is going to be the last time. We'll be buttoning her up. I'd open them two up for rust reasons. They're somewhat clean. Of course, I knurled and fit them two pistons. I'm checking all the bores because I marked them in the box, but I'm double checking them. So this side's ready to go in. I know them two, which would be 4 and 6 are bigger, and they are. So we can put the rings on them. So I just put the last piston in the Hemi. That's going to finish up this video. I don't know how many more videos I'll make of the Hemi. There might be a few more. I got to get back on the 383. I had a defective dampener that, yeah, it's just the way it goes, and got another one. So we're going to make sure that the counterweight in the new balancer, because it's a little different, it's a better quality dampener actually. So we got to check that and spin it on the balancing machine. And I want to finish up on that. Then we'll probably get back on this one. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to the channel if you would. Thanks.